Right, so there's a lot that's been happening in the world recently, and this has had some profound impacts on the cryptocurrency markets and the overall market. So we need to try and understand exactly what's been going on, how it's affected these markets, and then what we can do to position ourselves to hopefully make the best of any situation that might be to come. So I'm going to go through all of the news that you guys need to know, and there's some surprising facts that have been coming out just in the last 24 hours you need to be aware of. As we know, there has been some rising and considerably rising tensions in the Middle East between the US, Israel, Iran, and so on. So to break down a little bit of what has been going on the 28th of February, the US Operation Epic Fury did a massive attack on Iran to kill the supreme leader. And then this resulted in retaliation from Iran towards the US and Israel bases. Iraq, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, etc. got caught up in this. And of course, also the Strait of Hormuz, which has made the oil prices spike. We'll get back to that a little later in the video. Now, the 1st to the 2nd of March, heavy strikes continued. Both sides had a lot of attacks, right? And then 2 to 3 March, the war has widened. Israeli strikes on different places like Lebanon, and we are seeing some escalation now, 3rd to the 4th. So we haven't found a resolution, which of course we would have liked to see. The market prefers certainty over uncertainty, but right now we're still kind of in the middle of this situation. Now, how has this situation affected the crypto market? Well, very surprisingly, Bitcoin is 67,500. It actually reached a high at kind of in the middle of this situation of $70,000. Now, this is very interesting. So when this first started to break out, Saturday, Sunday time, I found it very interesting. One of the indicators that I've thought that maybe things aren't going to get kind of insanely crazy. Let's say, the old start of World War III and that some people were speculating, or still are speculating, to be fair. I kind of thought, well, if Bitcoin's rising, the powers that be that control money or control a lot of money aren't panic selling Bitcoin. Because remember, once again, literally, as I told you and exactly as we discussed here on this channel, I was 1 week off from being correct about this all kicking off. It did happen on the weekend. If you go back, we discussed it and I said, there's something brewing here. Like, we were focusing on the news and everything between Iran and the US. And I was saying to you again, something's going to happen, but it's most likely going to happen on or after Friday close, the stock market. And that's exactly what happened again. So the only large scale market that has liquidity and free flowing assets that people can trade right away is really crypto. And funnily enough, Bitcoin didn't get annihilated on the news, which is very interesting. Now, I can't tell you that this tells us anything specific, but for me personally, it gave me kind of this air of calmness, right? This air of things aren't gonna escalate in the way that a lot of the world is speculating right now, because huge, massive whales that probably know more than me about what's going on are not dumping Bitcoin. But another way to look at this is also that maybe this is more signs that the local bottom might be in, because even a war breaking out to this level, right? And this is a big scale increase that we've seen. Even to this level, Bitcoin didn't drop below 62,600 and it didn't drop below its local low of 59. So this could be evidence that we are in our local low. So for me, right now, the most likely situation for me personally and what I'm expecting is we see maybe not a resolution per se, but, an easing of the tensions or, something where we're going towards a better outcome. And let's call better, to be specific, a more certain outcome. The markets like certainty, all right? It might not be definitely what will happen, but make the markets think it's more certain. This is exactly, I think, the playbook that Donald Trump is doing, by the way. Like, I believe there's always way more to the story than what we hear, and there's reasons to the madness, or method to the madness, let's call it. Doing this on the weekend was a specific choice that was made. Okay, so what I'm looking for now is some sort of resolution or some calming of the tides, let's say. And I think it's quite likely now that Bitcoin takes a move to the upside. However, there's data that we need to look at to figure out whether or not that's the case, given the manipulation in the market. But let's remember the 200-day MA, right? And we can use that as our point of reference. So In the last bear market, we broke down to a price of about 34. Right now, we've broken down to a price of 52-ish, right? We then rallied about 40% to the 200-day MA, right there, 40%. We're yet to see that sort of rally. You could argue that we've already seen this sort of rally here. We came down a bit lower, and now we're heading back up. So the base case here, right, would be that we are in a bear market. The 4-year cycle is still intact. And what we could expect here is now a rally to the upside before correcting back into the continuation of the normal bear market we tend to see. Because right now, it's been nowhere near as bad as a bear market can go. 52% down is actually only the same move as we had here, and only really the same move that we had here before the continuation to the downside. So the plan for me, continue to trade and try and make profit anyway of the bounces to the upside, but also plan to accumulate cash in, for example, trading these bounces to the upside, take that cash and get it prepared for moves to the downside, right? As you know, I have the long trade that I opened on Bitcoin. I took out $12,000 profit in this already. I showed you the trade right here, 12,400 so far in realized gains. The last trade we had $18,000 in realized gains, and now we have 19,300 in unrealized gains, right? So right now I have approximately $50,000 I've accumulated from trading these bounces. People continually call me a madman for going long in a bear market, but this strategy is working. I don't know how much more I can show these people who think I have some sort of ulterior motive, but this is the trade, guys. There's nothing else I can show you apart from the literal trade in front of us. So I now have approximately $50,000, 30,000 realized, 20,000 unrealized of cash, right? If I were to close this, that I can then reinvest into Bitcoin as it goes down. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.